all that stuff again. That's what it sounded like. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm saying to myself, what else was discussed on that call, and was a seed planted on that call? Why don't we do this right this time? Here's what I had in my way in 2016, and here's what I don't care about anymore right now. All theories are acceptable tonight. I'm looking forward to you guys, gals, being a part of it. And yeah, that's after the first half, which we will have a little bit of time with Jeff Harman, an astrologer of 47 years, a lot of experience, and has seen a lot of history, and does a different kind of what's going on now? Hold on. Now what? Anyway, well, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting into that. All right, so first thing is first. Let me see here. Oh, what the hell's going on here? Boom. Sorry, I must have... Oh, you know what it was last night? We were working on all the sound equipment over here. For those of you in podcast land, I just had to adjust the camera because it was way over. We were working on the technology over here, so we probably knocked something off kilter. It's off kilter because there's some things going on with the sound right now that I can't diagnose. And it happened to us not too long ago, but whatever. Sometimes you just got to deal with shit. And that's what we do. I deal with a lot of stuff over here, and then finally I figure it out down the line. Okay, so first things up on the grab bag, I just want to jump into it. A little bit of an update on our Religious Relics show that's going to be going on Tuesday, the 27th of August. This was something that is just really incredible. Again, it goes to the timing and the flow and the synchronicity of the show. I always say that these episodes just kind of write themselves. I go and I have this interest in religious relics. I want to talk about them all. And I know that Timothy Gordon has done a lot on that, and I wanted to bring him on because it's been a while since we had Tim back on the show. And so I get him on the show. I also have a follow-up kind of a panel that's been put together with him and Jay Dyer for early September. And as soon as I get him on the show, about 12 to 24 hours later, all of this news about the Shroud of Turin pops off all over the place. New scientific discoveries, all corroborating things, the media cherry picking what they're going to give credit to. There's some really, really amazing stuff going on. So even though it's going to be a broad spectrum conversation about relics, it's going to be a lot of focus on the Shroud of Turin. And now, not only did Tim put out a response video today, he's going to be on with Michael Knowles tomorrow. Dr. Steve Turley did something on this, on all the news around this and the experiments that, completely blow all that already dubious carbon dating 13th century nonsense that had been the standing line for so long. It's going to be really interesting. I can't wait. I really can't wait. And that's just the way things roll. That's the way he rolls. So it's going to be a good Tuesday night show. Make sure you're around for it. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, well, this right here, what the hell, why didn't I get this? This right here is one of my worst nightmares. I don't know about you. I've always had a hard time not thinking about something about to jump up from the toilet water and biting me in the ass or somewhere else. What about you? What about you? Well, a man bitten in the testicles by a 12-foot snake in the bathroom. Worst nightmare, blood everywhere. This is from the New York Post. This toilet attack was totally nuts. A Thai man was bitten on the testicles by a 12-foot python while he sat on the toilet, so he beat the serpent to death with a toilet brush, leaving his bathroom splattered in blood, according to reports and stunning photos. He felt a sharp pain after he took a seat on Tuesday, so he reached down and grabbed the snake by the neck and tried to rip off his privates. This is according to the Asia Pacific Press. Now, hopefully, there's no pythons in any American toilets over here, but you just don't know. I felt something biting my balls. It was very painful, so I put my hands in the toilet to see what was wrong. I was shocked that I grabbed the snake. When the snake didn't budge, he grabbed the toilet brush and began beating it in the head, prompting the snake to release its fangs. According to the outlet, I quickly stood up and plucked it out. I felt pain, really bad pain. There was blood everywhere. But I was more shocked to have found a python in the toilet. Oh my God, look, there's the python. That toilet water is cold, man. Oh, there it is again. Gross. Oh, I'm so happy I'm not in a part of the world where this is commonplace. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, well, anyway, so there you have it. Make sure you double check. Make sure you double check. Here's another one for you. So, where was it? Okay, so a friend of mine got in touch with me. He works in the city. You've heard from him before. It's Mr. B. He works in property management down there. Called in once or twice to talk about how the entire thing is collapsing in New York, and it's just really a microcosm of everywhere else. You know, the kind of stuff that Catherine Austin Fitz talks about a lot. Well, he got in touch with me. He said, Frank, listening to your Robin McCutcheon podcast right now, rent control has now entered the free market. If a tenant has a free market apartment and doesn't pay rent, they can win in court based on good cause eviction laws. They're setting up how much you can increase on free market apartments, and that is 5% plus inflation rate. They're saying the maximum increase on free market is now 10% total. There is no more free market. That's from him. And speaking of Robin, you remember when she was on with us a couple of nights ago, and she said that she was waiting for the revised job numbers and was expecting this to be revised downward by nearly 1 million. I think she said at least 1 million, and maybe perhaps it's far more than what they reported today, but it's pretty damn close. Take a look at this report from Fox News earlier on today. Biden-Harris administration was just forced to admit that they overstated job creation by 818,000 jobs in 1 year. 818,000 jobs.
A huge revision down, 818,000 fewer jobs. This is basically the government's overstated the amount of people in the workforce.
Lying. Another word for lying. It's one thing to be off by a couple of hundred, but 1 million, and you know what's worse than that.
And even when you look under this, manufacturing was down 115,000 people. So this is a revision down, a significant revision down, the largest in 15 years that we've seen. And it basically says that the government has now overstated the amount of people who are working in this workforce. It shows weakness in the job markets over the past year that we didn't realize was there, but now we know is there. So again, 818,000.
And of course, he's not going anywhere near what we were tying a lot of this stuff to months ago, the last time that Robin came on, prior to this week. The more stark part of that conversation was excess mortality. That, you know, there's been plenty of people who have been tracking that. The numbers right there are dark enough as it is, but, you know, it's when you think about the demographics of people, the excess mortality across all the working demographics of people, citizens, working demographics. We're not talking about retirement age people. We're talking about young working age people who should be in the prime of their lives or approaching the prime of their professional lives. So there's a lot in there. There's a lot in there that they're not even talking about. So 818,000, I wouldn't be surprised if that's not even a fraction of the real or a sizable fraction of the real story.
Overall jobs down, manufacturing down 115,000 in this. And if you just wrote construction down 45,000. So these numbers are huge numbers in revisions down.
Okay.
Huge.
Well, this was asked to, let's see here. Who's this woman? Raimondo? I don't know. They're at the DNC. Greg Price put this clip out here. And this 1 million jobs created since Kamala took office did not exist. And they asked somebody from the DNC. I don't know who, if Raimondo is like if this woman is a authority figure over there or something. I really don't know the hierarchy anymore. But take a listen to this. She just flat out says, "I don't believe it," even though it's coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The current Regimes Bureau, by the way.
When you hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
I'm not familiar with that.
So first thing, you listen, you can't take anything. You can't take anything that they say. You can't believe anything. Can't. I mean, you just saw right there. There was a knee-jerk reaction to deny it. And then at the end, I'm not familiar with that. But the knee-jerk reaction was, I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful. That the numbers were coming from Donald Trump and it's not real. That was a knee-jerk. There was like, where'd you get those from? Oh, that's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Oh, well, I never. Move on. It's just so crazy. Well, there's no solution at the end of it. It's just, damage control constantly. And this was a real story right here. What I've got over here, this one right here was a real story about the Planned Parenthood abortion trucks at the DNC. This is for real. People said, Frank, did you hear about this? I said, I saw memes about it, but I didn't know how serious it was. So I went looking into it, and this was real. So you want to talk about just where we are right now. You want to talk about how, like last night, when I was just talking, I was just going off a little bit in the second half about it has been apparent that they have studied, the left has studied Donald Trump's campaign style over the last 10 years or so, and they have tried to mimic that and duplicate it, but invert things and weird, they've even recreated what he had going for him with the lock her up chance. Over 8 years, they were actually able to create charges and convictions, roll out Hillary Clinton at the convention, and allow her to soak in the lock him up chance. It's the black magic, the magic that we are, the conjuring is something else. It really is. But here is another example of how, even though it's all window dressing and they will be, wolves in sheep's clothing to the umpteenth degree, but here is another just example of what is really behind the mask, behind the cracking, flaking facade of decency. This is what is there. Take a look at this. There are plenty of conservative Americans who believe, this is from the Western Journal, that uniting this nation is no longer possible. These individuals claim that liberals and conservatives think too differently. They may have a valid point. All you need to do is look at the Planned Parenthood abortion truck sitting outside the Democratic National Convention performing vasectomies and abortions to realize how radically different the two sides are. They're sterilizing people outside. The stunt is pure evil. It's a modern-day sacrifice sold as health care for political gain and population control. The mobile death camp sat next to a taco truck. I wonder if they gave out free tacos to everybody who killed a child that day. And a stand run by Chicago Abortion Fund, the Post noted. The free and easy framing around these procedures is sickening. It devalues life. It invites irresponsible behavior as well as murder without consequence for the trade of a meal and a goodie bag. That's what it was. Okay, so it was. It was for tacos. Imagine trading in your offspring for tacos. And you could walk away as if your pregnancy never happened. So the van began performing abortions and vasectomies on Monday, the first day of the DNC, then continued on Tuesday. Dr. Colleen McNicholas, the chief medical officer of Planned Parenthood in the region, told the Post, and it planned to perform 10 vasectomies, the poor unfortunate souls that went through with that, on Monday, and 25 abortions on Monday and Tuesday. Registration forms were sent out on Thursday before, and all 40 spots were filled by that Sunday. So they can chant USA all they want. They can get all the country singer, weirdo, leftists, whatever. I didn't even know that there were leftist country guys. I guess they are. Why not? Go out there to stand in front of barns with waving American flags and whatever the hell else. They can do all of the window dressing that they want. This is just pure butchery. Butchery. This is just fucking sick. So There you have it. All right, let's get this one started because that is just a little bit of the backdrop of the political landscape right now. I'd love to talk to Jeff Harman about what we've seen and where it's all going, because we have 1 month until fall arrives, and that's the spooky month. All right, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!
How you feeling these days?
Man, thanks for having me.
Yes.
Doing all right.
That's what I like to hear. I
heard you on X22, man. It was great.
Rick, it was great being back on there. I hadn't spoken to Dave in so long. I'd love for him to come back on this show, and I just saw he got his YouTube channel back. There's a whole lot of strange things, a lot of giving and taking going on right now. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yeah. It's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff right now. You bet.
So where do you want to start with this? Because, the obvious is this. Since the last time we spoke, we had the obvious was Trump and Biden. I believed from the beginning that both men were slated for execution back in July. I believe that the bullet missed Trump, and then they settled for a White House coup with Biden instead. So I'm just going to leave this first block of our interview to you right here. What did both men's charts look like at the time of the ouster week? Is Trump out of the woods now? What's going on here?
I wish he was out of the woods. I noticed today he gave a speech in North Carolina, and the first thing I noticed, he's surrounded by bulletproof glass, which is really good because I'm going to tell you, in his chart, he literally has Uranus squaring Mars 2 more times. He's in grave danger. He really is. And I think they know that. I definitely think they know that. One of the things that was interesting, we did a live right when that assassination situation happened, like minutes afterwards. And I did something known as an interrogation, which is a lot of astrologers know that as prashna or horary astrology. It's literally divinational. You just cast a question for the moment. And what you do is you read it. And I can tell you that was a hit job from the top down. That was not just some 20-year-old kid with a rifle on a roof. And of course, now the truth has come out, but minutes after that had happened, that's what the chart said. In fact, I would say major top-down assassination temp was all over that chart like a rash, literally like a rash. And there's no one will convince me that wasn't somebody at the top of the pyramid saying, take this guy out. And we see this. I mean, when you look at what they said in terms of the whole situation with, there was supposed to be, all this security, and there were literally police officers running around, screaming at the Secret Service. There was one guy on a body cam. And I mean, anyone who's going to tell me that was not a top-down thing just from common sense would never convince me. And I can tell you the chart showed it exactly to the T. It was absolutely to the T.
Well, let me ask you this, because we've also discussed this a lot in the past, where I ask about the mechanics from your standpoint, from your profession, the mechanics of the universe, like how things above are working.
Mars was exactly conjuncting Donald Trump's midheaven, almost to the degree. Well, it was to the degree, and it was like within minutes. And when I say minutes, I'm talking longitudinal degree minutes of conjuncting his midheaven. It was like clockwork.
Okay.
And I've been saying for the last year and a half, Trump is in grave danger, and he still is. And I can tell you he's not out of the woods until next May. They're going to try and take this guy out. In fact, I used these exact words. I was on Coast to Coast. I was on my own podcast saying this man is in grave danger. And he is. He still is. And I think he's now realized that, or he wouldn't be standing behind bulletproof glass doing seminars and rallies, because he's really, if they, and I'd watch, if I was on his security team, I'd be looking for poison, for trying to take a plane out, anything they can. Well, directed energy weapons, trust me, they're not going to just try one way. They're going to try any way they can. So, and with sentencing coming up.
Yeah, but let me just ask you this. Let's say that there wasn't this bad combination at the time of the shooting. This is such a pivotal year. We know what is on the line for the global, the shadow government, everybody that has control over major industry that is trying to steer the world into a technocratic, satanic hell.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
There is only a short amount of. I mean, we have an election at that point, maybe 3 or 4 months away. Why would they not try, even without a bad alignment of the stars?
They would, but the fact is how accurate the stars were. I mean, literally, those bullets flew almost exactly the minute and second that Mars was hitting his midheaven. I mean, that's so accurate, it's creepy. I mean, what are the chances of that?
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to all those questions I've asked in so many different ways about the relationship between, what we are more liable to do and how history really just does run parallel in many ways to the movement of celestial bodies above us. It is a very creepy thing. Just like
really creepy.
Yeah, I know.
We're in a matrix. We are literally in an interactive conscious matrix. It's exactly what we are. I had the same thing back in the 70s. My mother would tell me, hey Jeff, this girl's not going to work for you, or this one's pretty compatible, or she's like this. And I'm like, come on. I said, what are you doing here? And she says, I got their charts, their birth charts. And I started, I was really skeptical. But then she said, just check it out. She goes, look at the correlations, look at the way the aspects happen, when this happened, when that happened. And I'm telling you, it's so accurate, it's creepy. It really is. And again, the Matrix movie had a guy with a beard, sitting there with all the TV screens. But when you look at Nadi astrology and the mechanics of what we call mundane astrology, when things happen in the sky to an individual's birth chart, which are called transits, it's pretty amazing just how accurate it is. It really is. It's absolutely stunning. I mean, you could have set a watch to when COVID broke out. I've been saying this for years. Everyone said to me, Jeff, what do you think of the Mayan calendar? I said, not a single thing. I said, the new one world order is going to make its move forward from 2020 forward. And they did. In fact, there was a Pluto conjunct Saturn right in the third week of January. That's exactly when COVID kicked in. And we also had something called an alignment called a Kalasarpa Yoga. That's where every planet is in between the moon's nodes, and very dangerous time. And it's exactly when that broke out. If anybody thinks back to how insane the energy was when COVID broke out, absolutely creepy. And then you look at on the winter solstice of 2020, we had a 240-year conjunction alignment of Jupiter and Saturn in the sky that hasn't happened like that since the Revolutionary War. That was the last time it happened. That was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and also the formation of this country. And ever since 220, it has been literally the twilight zone. And now we have the United States with a Pluto return on it. Say Pluto takes 240 years to go around the chart. That's a long time. Well, somewhere between 245 and 250 is the actual synodic cycle, which is a fancy term that just means how long does it take to go around the solar system. Well, we just had our 248th birthday on July 4th of this year. So the United States is experiencing a Pluto return. Now, people may say, okay, great. What does that mean? Well, to give you an idea, the Roman Empire was destroyed on a Pluto return. And many historians have gone back, even though Pluto wasn't discovered before that, but they check the alignments of when Pluto would have aligned, and it matches the destruction or the rise and fall of countries. And look at what's happened to this country. Oh, yeah. I mean, not only have they looted the treasury, and they have. And I think it was George Washington that said, if you want to destroy a country, just loot the treasury. Well, it's exactly what they've done. And then you look at what's happened with the border being flooded. I mean, I'm hearing we got terrorists coming in underneath in tunnels in the Maquiladora. I hear they're passing out all kinds of weaponry up in Denver, all different major cities. If we don't see a terrorist attack that rivals 9/11 this fall, I'm going to be really surprised. And I'd love to be wrong on that one. I would love to be 100% wrong. But I'm telling you, we are really at a crisis point in this country. And by this December, the United States will have the third and final hit of what we call a Pluto return. So you got to remember, a planet goes direct and it stations from Earth's perspective. It appears to go backwards, and then it comes back and it gets a second hit, and then it goes direct and comes back and hits it for the final time. And that's exactly what's going to happen this December. So we are either going to see this nation in absolute mayhem, or we might be the phoenix rising out of the ashes. Now, the question is which one is it going to be? Well, I like that the United States has some redeeming energies coming towards it next year in 2025, because George Carlin was right. Forget the politicians, you have owners, and we do. Wilson signed it over to him back in 1913, beginning of 1914. That was the Federal Reserve Act. And these people running this place, and they run it. That's where you look.
Well,
that's where you look. Follow the money.
Well, Jeff, let me ask you this here, because we did one half, and I have a follow-up question with the Trump question that will wait until the end, because I want to get through a couple more figures. The general feelings and the general synopsis of where we are looking big picture and what has been planned for the world big picture and what we are now hunkering down to resist. That is, I think, very, very well stated. As far as individual players that are now going to be thrust into the middle of this, of the sands of the Coliseum here, let's go from Trump to Biden for a second. To me, and I'm just coming from instinct, he seems right now like he got the best deal out of all of them, because he's languishing in senility. He's being quietly pushed out, whereas maybe before I think that there might have been a little bit more of an abrupt end to his presidency and his campaign. What do you see for him going forward? Is it just really just being put out to pasture?
Yeah, and I think he's more out the pasture than we know. If anybody looks real close, I'm not sure it's him all the time. And I know that's a pretty brazen statement, but I don't believe it's him all the time. I think the tail is wagging the dog. I really do, if you ever saw that movie. And I got to tell you, there's some very strange stuff going on. And we've seen this with many politicians. Some very eerie things are happening. And this is why, another thing I got to tell you that's going on in the backdrop of course, we're mostly concerned in the United States about this whole situation with the election. But let's really take it up to 100,000 feet and look at the world at large. Right now, we have Uranus. And for anybody who doesn't know what Uranus is, if you look at its glyph, it's the two crescents of the moon bent outwards with the cross in the middle over the sun. And it is always the planet of chaos, change, and new beginnings. Well, guess what? Last time this happened was 84 years ago. Why? It takes 84 years for Uranus to go around the chart. Well, guess what? What was 84 years ago? Wasn't that when Hitler was attacking Europe, going into France, the Battle of Dunkirk, hitting, bombing London and all the crazy stuff that was happening there, going into Austria and basically trying to take over the world? Well, of course it was. If you go 84 years, the last time Uranus was in the sidereal sign of Taurus, which is also known as the Pleiades, what was happening then? Well, that was the Civil War in the United States. How about that? And chaos in other parts of the world. If you go 84 years besides that, all I'm doing is picking the 84-year cycle that it takes Uranus to go around the solar system. You know what's going on before that? The Revolutionary War. If you go 84 years back to that, look at the mayhem that was going on in Europe. The monarchs were falling, on and on. So all kinds of stuff that parallels every 84 years. If you leapfrog back through history, you'll see there was always a tumultuous time. We are in that right now. And what's even more interesting and this is not conspiracy talk here, it's fact. I've actually seen it. I wasn't around for sure for World War II, but I can tell you I was taken by a banker into a federally secured vault, and he showed me fork truck pallets of gold-backed bonds that were issued by the United States Treasury Department to the Republic of Germany. Guess when that was? 1933. Do you know when they were called? They were callable? 1945. So in other words, we funded Hitler and we funded Japan and we sold them the steel and then they shot it back at us. What a coincidence. What's going on right now? 84 years again, Uranus is now in the same position as it was at the beginning of World War II. Well, what's happening? They're going like this to all the terrorists in the Middle East. They're funding the war in Ukraine. Ukraine has just been bombing or hitting with certain bombs and drones inside of Russia. They're trying to provoke a war. This is called the problem reaction solution. You fund things to people you know that are maniacal and crazy, and then they'll do maniacal and crazy things because that's what they do, right? And next thing you know, you get the coals fanned real close, and then poof, the flames come up. Now you got your problem. Oh my God, there's a war. Well, everybody freaks out over war. War makes money, lots and lots and lots of money. And then the solution is come in and take over. This is right where we are again, except the world is in a much, much more dangerous place than we were in World War II. Now we got not only nuclear weapons, directed energy weapons, biochemical weapons that are so creepy, you don't even want to hear about them.
Cyber.
And cyber, exactly, that too. I mean, that can take down the grids of, entire nations. If we had just a pulse that knocked out our power grid, you wouldn't eat.
Well, what you're
couldn't
talking
pump gas, couldn't pump fuel, it'd be done.
You're talking those 84-year cycles. It pretty much lines up with the I guess the rhythms of the fourth turning, where every 75 to
another
about
term,
75
That's
to 80 some odd years, you're seeing these major transformative conflicts and events, black swan events essentially. It's mostly war, the black swan events
usually. Yeah.
But there's it's not so. I mean, but there you have it again. There is the kind of the guy been put out to pasture. Now, as far as taking this next leap, there are two active bodies. One of them is Donald Trump, and now here's the third one I want to bring up, and that's Kamala Harris. Now, I don't need to be an astrologer. I don't need to be a palm reader or anything like that to tell me that this woman is in way over her head. In my opinion, like I said in the opening, they could strap her to a Saturn V rocket and send her into space this afternoon, and she would be more prepared for that condition than the ones that she finds herself in right now. What do you see happening with her?
And she'd be laughing all the way out there.
I know. So what do you see? Yeah. What's going on with her?
Well, when I look at her chart, and I actually did that. In fact, I also looked at RFK's chart here.
That's the one I'm asking you next.
Yeah. Kamala Harris, she's got some crazy stuff going on here right now. She's in a Saturn dosha. The biggest thing I don't like about her chart, she's actually been for the last four and a half years in a very powerful position. And of course, she was VP. Now she's got her secondary progressed moon descending into the 12th house. Now, this is mind control, folks. They're blowing smoke up your rear end and telling you what to believe. I always hate it when I turn on a TV and somebody shows me a poll telling me what to think. In fact, Fox News is just as bad as the rest of them because they're always putting out polls to tell us, this one's a little ahead, this one's a little behind, this one's a little bit over here, and this one's a little behind over in this state. It's total rhetorical crap. And that's the manipulation that they can do, and they do. I don't think we've seen an honest election in this country for a mighty long time. And I really don't. Because as long as they have digital voting machines and they can obscure things the way that they do, it's pretty hard to get an honest election. The only way out of it is paper ballots and voter registration and ID. Now, there are some states that are doing that. But I can tell you these polls, they're just setting you up for the mind control that, they're just neck and neck.
Yep.
Really? Nobody asked me. Did anybody ask you what they think of or what you think of a certain candidate? Most of the people I talk to have never had a phone call.
I never. And
little focus studies, and then they extrapolate from there.
Yeah, we're on the same page with that. It's all about making the predetermined outcomes, or at least the ones that they're going to just try to deliver to us.
It's the big club they beat you over the head with every day.
Makes sense. Makes sense. She was always in the lead. It was always neck and neck. It was always going to be a toss up. But they're just getting so brazen with it. So then she is really, really just getting dragged along for the ride. She's not a very consequential character in all this.
I mean, her chart's not that strong right now. She's actually going into a waning moon period. This takes the progressed moon. This is the coolest thing about Earth. Earth is a time machine. If you really look at what is Earth, a lot of flat earthers, a lot of different people out there saying, what's going on here? Really, this planet is quite unusual. When you look at some of the ancient techniques in astrology, it's pretty amazing. When you're spanked on the rear end in the delivery room, or when we draw first breath, each day of rotation of the Earth, or if you will, if you're a flat earther, the cycles of the celestial, daily rotation literally equals a year. So the next 90 days equals the next 90 years. Well, these are called progressions. The Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Vedic astrologers, the Nadi astrologers, they all use this stuff. And it's pretty amazing. And I can tell you, when I look at her secondary progressed moon, meaning Kamala's, it's now descending into the 12th house. Now, there's one thing that I see why this is happening. Kamala Harris has what we call primary directed Jupiter crossing her ascendant. And that's why you got to really watch it, because the mind control system could put her in there. She actually could be manipulated to win. And I could see, in other words, the polls could be manipulated. And what's interesting is Trump's chart's much stronger in that respect. And I always tell people, we have a war here going on that's much, much bigger than forget the left, forget the right, forget Republican, forget Democrat. You have the globalists who want to put us in literally digital hell, like you said before. And you have the nationalists. And this is what's going on. And, I'll get heat for this, because if I say anything that sounds positive towards Trump, oh my God, I get the hate mail. You wouldn't believe it, because the mind control works. Everybody's buying this stuff, and they don't see it's not the politicians. It's the forces behind them that really would matter. And Kamala and Waltz, I'm telling you, they're backed by the communist regime. They want China's model right here, and they will get it if they get in. And they will. It's going to be a short matter of time. The destruction of this economy will happen like that if she gets in, because they're going to crash the dollar. You will see digital currency come in so fast your head will swim. Look what's happened to the middle class. I see it here in California. Everywhere I go, I see a soaped up window and a for rent sign. It's much worse than people realize. Not only have they looted the treasury, but they've destroyed, through regulations and taxing and expenses, the whole middle class. So we are this close to a major catastrophic financial crash. Every financial guru says it. And it's exactly what the charts say too, the astrology. The Pluto return is utter destruction of things that exist. People hear these expressions from astrology, Pluto return. What does that mean? Well, Pluto is like a flamethrower. It's like taking some metal and melting it down in a crucible, and it becomes liquid. What was is gone, and now it's reformed into something new. And see, these new one world order guys, they know this stuff, and they're very well aware of it. Forget Klaus Schwab and George Soros. Yeah, they're active, that's for sure. But the owners are above them. And I'm not so sure there isn't some very deep extraterrestrial demonic stuff intertwined with this, because it sure reeks that way. And I've seen too much in my own eyes. And this is really a war against good and evil. And I believe good always wins. And I think the problem is to get across the bridge. And this is what Uranus does every time. It transits the seven sisters in the Pleiades. See, those are known as the seven sisters of Hades, or this comes from the legend of Hercules. Remember, he put the daughters in the underworld. There's many legends and variations of that. But Uranus right now is coming to a screeching halt super slowly. And right on September 1st, it stops and goes retrograde backwards over the most evil fixed star in the sky. Plain English, we're going to see trouble. Look at what's going on in England right now. They're hauling people off to jail for just saying things that they want to say on the internet.
Oh, it's even, yeah. I saw somebody just got 2 months for putting on Facebook. No, but this to a lesser degree. Someone got 2 months for putting on Facebook, there goes the neighborhood. I mean, something as innocuous as that, 2 months of your life is gone. I mean,
you think that couldn't happen here?
Oh, hey, listen,
like that.
we know that shit like that was going on in Minnesota under Tim Walz, and so we know what they're willing to do, and we know that this is all this happy-go-lucky, strength through joy nonsense that they're billing this duo as. It's just a really creepy facade. But let me ask you,
just like Hitler, they kick in the door and haul you off to a concentration camp.
Yeah.
That stuff is very real.
It is, and we're not too far away from it. Let me ask you this about a follow-up on Trump then, because you've just given a pretty, I would say, even keel, not too rosy outlook on what could be, what we may have to just put up with, because there's only so much we can do aside from showing up, saying our prayers, and casting our one vote each. But when you say that Donald Trump
that gets crumpled up and thrown in the garbage can, or the digit flips the other way.
I mean, that could very well be it. But when you say that Donald Trump is not out of the woods just yet, he's still got some trouble coming up in 2024, but he's also in hot water in the spring of 25. Is that citizen Trump or President Trump? Is it? I guess is it either or?
That's really good. You know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to cast a chart, because I've been dancing around this. Let's just see. Is it citizen Trump or President Trump? I love that. So what I'm doing right now, you can't see on the screen. I could put it on the screen if you want. You're really saying, will Trump win?
Well, yeah, because the big thing, Jeff, is that I understand, and most people understand why the 4 years he was forced to sit on the sidelines while Joe Biden went ahead with his stillbirth of a presidency. We understand why they tried to destroy him, put him in jail, and really keep him away from public life over the last 4 years, because he still had a chance of running. One way or another, his political career is going to be done after 2024 campaign season. He's not going to run again. And if he wins, he's not going to be up for re-election. So if he doesn't win, I would be surprised if they go after him in 2025, because he's a non-factor.
Yeah, he's not a factor. No, there's no question about it. I mean, this is why they hit him, because they want him out of the way. They're going to do whatever they can do to take this guy out. This is a very murky question. It shows there's going to be a lot of manipulation being attempted, and particularly in the polls. That's what it shows. Now, the question is will he win? I got to say, there's a strong possibility he's going to get in, but it's not going to be a clean election. That's what it shows. I would not be surprised if he does win, that they don't do something where they try and declare him not the winner, or there's a lot of dissension between the time at which he's sworn in, and just like the last election, you saw what all happened there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd have to study this a bit more. I'm looking up because my screen is up high here. This I would want to spend time, and I'm glad, because this is the first time I've been so busy with clients and dealing with so many different things. I haven't really cast the question yet. DNC, RNC, all that stuff going on. I'm waiting, and Mercury's been retrograde too. So I've been waiting to not cast a chart. And you're the first one who's actually specifically put that question home. I've had a lot of people ask questions, but not this one. Not quite that direct and
well, when you do, when the environment is good enough to dig into that, make sure you at least send me a statement, an email that I can read onto the record here, in case we can't get you on the air before election day.
This is dicey, I can tell you that. This is dicey. They expect manipulation par excellence. That's what it shows. That's the first thing I see. And you don't even need a chart for that, but the
Right.
chart confirms it.
Yeah.
And it was interesting when he got that assassination attempt, we went live right off the bat. And I'm a matter of record. It's still on the internet. I cast a chart just like I'm doing now. And I said, this is a top-down inside job. It was not just a 20-year-old kid. That was facilitated to happen, and it was a hit job. The only thing is he turned his head, and he didn't get killed. Otherwise, they'd have been hosing him off the stage, and they would have. And I think he knows it now. And
So
this chart looks like a lot of manipulation. It leans towards, though, he's probably going to win. But I don't know that they're going to allow him in easy. That's what it shows.
See, that's one of those things where I can see how your charts would say, oh, well, he wins in 2020 as well, because most people would say he did. Now, as far as what results...
No, he did. I saw that. But this time I'm seeing even more manipulation. See, what I'm concerned about, we haven't mentioned this yet, but the United States has what we call a primary direction. Now, people hear this and they go, what the heck is that? See, primary directions literally take, if you have a birth chart of a person or of a nation, each year clocks forward as what we call a degree. So a year equals a degree in a primary direction. So what happens is the United States, again, is a little over 248 years. So Saturn in the United States birth chart has moved just a little bit over 248 degrees. And the computer calculates this. Here, I'll put this on the screen. Can I share a screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Here, hang on. Let me come back and I'll put this up for you. There we go.
Wait, I don't see.
Permission.
Let me see here. Hold on a second. Let me make you. I'm going to make you the host.
Way to do it. Make me the host, right?
There you go.
All right.
Because I got one more big question for you after this.
No problem. So what you're going to see here on the chart, you'll see this is the United States birth chart. Now, many different astrologers use different birth times for the United States. The one that I use is, it is believed that the signing of the Declaration of Independence happened right around 5:10 p.m. Now, different astrologers will disagree with it, but here's what's important. Are we breaking up here?
What?
Okay, good. I thought my computer's really slow right now. So anyways, what you're seeing on the screen, I'm going to put my pencil here so people can see exactly what I'm speaking about. This is the United States Astrological signing of the Declaration of Independence birth chart, right there where I'm circling. This outer wheel is what we call the primary solar arc directions. Now, hardly anyone's talking about this in the astrological community, and I don't know why. Well, you can see Saturn is exactly 21 degrees, 19 minutes of arc. And when it gets to 21:22, that's called an exact conjunction. Well, you can actually see here right now, if I circle this, it's within OA 02. Now, that's pretty small on the screen, but just trust me, that's within 2 minutes of arc. Now, that's going to put us right in the middle of September, anywhere between the 1st of September into the 15th. I hope I'm wrong about this, but we could see hell come to breakfast. Why? Because Saturn is always structures and Mars is violence. So we could see anything happen. Terrorist attacks, grid attacks, war breakout, all kinds of stuff could happen during this time. Now, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope we're talking here, sometime in the near future and nothing happens. But I got to tell you, my friend, that has never happened before. And with what has come in here through the border and what has happened financially and what is going on in the world, trust me, anything could happen. We could see a terrorist attack or an event that makes 9/11 look like a walk through the park. And I hope I'm wrong.
Well, listen, I know that at every opportunity possible, you love to give good news. So I know that you're not just come over here to sound sensationalist or you've never presented that.
Hopefully nothing happens.
Oh yeah, well, hey, let's hope.
Symbolism is strong. for an event to happen. Extreme, especially you got to couple that with transiting Uranus in the sky every 84 years, goes around the solar system, and every time it hits the Pleiades, and this is a sidereal zodiac, so anyone listening, tropical astrologers have to remember we're talking about the sidereal system, and it's stationing backwards right over Capitalgo. This is global. And what are they doing? They're fanning the flames all over the place. The Middle East, Europe, NATO, Russia, China. It's being pushed everywhere. And see, all they got to do is get something to ignite somewhere. And there's your problem, reaction, solution.
Well, you're talking about symbolism, and I want to ask you a question now that has a little bit of symbolism baked into it, just on its own. And that is the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. presence here. Now, you said before 2020 was what it was. 2024, you're probably going to see a lot more interference than before, because I would say, well, of course. Well, because number one, there's only one exodus. There's only one socio-political exodus. People only go from waking up about what's going on the left to not necessarily running to the Republican side of thing, but running toward political independence and a little bit more of a traditional American, where is liberty? Maybe they're just asking questions, but there's only one direction that the exodus is going in. The second thing here is, now we have other little factors that coming in. We have this first election now, since social media has become a big part of elections. That was 2008. 2008 was the first time that political campaigns really were able to push themselves over the edge with social media. Since then, this is the first time that we have a quasi free speech major platform in Twitter that has kind of opened up the floodgates for something other than absolute centralized censorship of news and everything else. Here's where RFK comes in. Aside from him being the last notable member of an ancient American political dynasty that has been violently picked apart by the system that is still alive today, members of his campaign have suggested that they may be joining forces with Trump to help with go up against Harris. That may be possible.
I've been hearing the same thing. Yep.
So, I mean, someone in that position can be a pretty decent difference maker, especially if he does control anywhere between 2 and 5%, that they're saying, when you say that there's less than 100,000 votes that were spread across 5 to 7 states that swung the election, even though, okay, you get some votes back your way, they can just print more ballots. I understand that. But what does the RFK Jr. presence have here if he becomes an ally in this late juncture of the election?
Well, I got to tell you, I looked at RFK's chart. I like his chart. He's tough. This guy has a lot of logic, a lot of common sense, whether you like him or not. I think that would be an excellent pairing. In fact, I've heard the same rumors. In fact, there's somebody we know in California here, down in the Beverly Hills areas, who's apparently been talking to him. And the word has it that it's really being pushed to happen. And if it does, which it could, I think it'd be an excellent addition, because Kennedy, if you look at his chart, he's got an extremely powerful Saturn in the 4th house. Kennedy was actually, something that's so cool about ancient astrology, and this proves that we're all spiritual beings having a physical experience. And every time I do a reading, I do this. I check the eastern horizon exact degree. In other words, every time any one of us are born, if you shot a laser off the earth out into sidereal space at that exact minute and second you draw first breath, they say that's where spirit becomes concretized in the body. It's tied in. That's when we're exiting mom's womb. Well, I looked at RFK's degree on the eastern horizon, and hopefully I've got his birth time right, but I think I do, because he was born in the degree of publicity. This man was actually born to be in the public eye, or he'd be very involved in fighting for the rights of people. And I thought, wow, that's really commendable. Secondly, I loved his Saturn in the 4th house. He has what we call an exalted Saturn conjunct Mars. The guy's tough. He's tough. And, when you listen to him talk, forget, Republican, Democrat, common sense is what he has. I mean, he's not an idiot. Now, I hate to say this, but, and I'm not making this up, Kamala Harris, I looked at the angel on her ascendant. Hate to say this, Kamala, but that's what you got. She's actually born in the degree of fading. Fading. Now, isn't this the word salad, Kamala Harris? We always see the laughing, nonsensical response patterns, the degree of fading. So it's really in stark contrast to RFK. Do you know what Donald Trump's angel is on the Eastern horizon? A king sitting on the throne, donning a golden crown. One of the most royal stars in the sky. Now, you can hate Trump, you can like Trump, but I can tell you the guy was born to be a leader. And it's in the chart. And you can't make this stuff up. I have looked at thousands and thousands of chart over almost the last 50 years. And what's stunning to me is there is an angelic force that brings us all in here. I actually witnessed that with my son being born. I literally was sitting in the delivery room. I never expected this. And he came out C-section. And I never expected it. I saw 2 illuminations. I didn't see any shapes or wings. And the second he cried, I just went, oh my God, I just witnessed the angelic forces tying the soul into that body permanently. See, they say the spirit, psyche, and soul is attached by a silver cord at conception, not at birth, at conception. It's like attached and assigned to it. But when we exit the womb, and same thing happens to an animal, that spirit is tied in permanently at breath. Breath is known as the spirit. And it is. Stop taking breaths once. You're not going to be around too long. So, and they say the breath vacates the body along with the spirit at the last final breath. So these birth charts, I mean, the angel on the Eastern horizon, stunning. I mean, you look at Donald Trump, king on a golden throne. Well, look at all his places. Look at Trump Towers. Look at Mar-a-Lago. Look at all the other hotels he's built. They all look like Versailles. You know, now you look at RFK. He's all about the public, cares about the public, always out there talking about the rights of human beings, et cetera, et cetera. Degree of publicity. Look at Kamala Harris. It's a degree of fading. I mean, I can't make this stuff up. It's one who's scattered and fades away the more she gets in the limelight. Putting her in the White House is scary. See, that's what the owners want. They want obedient politicians that are going to do anything they tell them to do because they don't want anybody running the White House. They run the White House. They run the government. They all dance to the money. They just keep handing out the money. Do what we tell you to do, and you'll have a great career. You don't do what we tell you to do, we'll shoot you. See ya.
No. Jeff, it's been a wonderful time with you again tonight. I understand that the next couple of months are probably going to be insanely busy for you. I would love to get you on with us somewhere around Halloween for even 20 minutes to give us a preview of the next week.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. But
and I'm going to really study that interrogation. Just so anybody listening, interrogations is probably one of the most incredibly provable things that the universe is an interactive consciousness with all of us. And you precipitated the question. And I got to tell you, it looks like Trump is going to definitely win, but you're going to see manipulation par excellence. That's what it shows. Okay, so then the President Trump or Citizen Trump? That's the question when we're looking ahead to spring of 25. If you work on that equation at some point over the next however long, you can send it my way. I can read it onto the air, or you can save it for whenever we talk. I'll reach out to you, and we'll get something on the books for October, and I can't thank you enough. Is there any appearances you got coming up next? Anything? Yeah, I want everybody to go to my YouTube channel. It's Jeff Harman Astrologer, and we're putting out. We took a little bit of break here with Mercury retrograde. We've been just doing lives, and we've been playing with a new show, but we're coming back out hard and strong with a lot of this stuff. And I'm going to put your question on there coming up. In fact, I'll be coming out with one this Monday. It's going to be really strong about all the events that are coming up, because I got to tell you, this is unprecedented what we're seeing. This 84-year cycle that we mentioned before, I'm telling you, this is serious stuff. Every time the world gets in this situation, we see mayhem. And every time I see it happening, there's evidence that it was provoked to happen. This is new. Evil, I wasn't even subscribed to you. There I am. Now I'm subscribed. My gosh. Excellent. Yeah, go to Jeff Harman Astrologer and on YouTube, and we're working at getting other platforms going too. So yeah. And then if if anybody wants to go to my website, it's jeffharman.com. Harman, by the way. So,
well, that's what we have. We have jeffharman.com in the description of this episode. As always, I hope people go there, or they can click through right to the YouTube, and there you have it. Jeff, it's been wonderful talking to you again. I will be in touch with you, Camille, everybody over there, and we'll get something going for the fall.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me on, bud.
Take care.
You bet.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there goes Jeff, and now it's going to be time for your calls. I'll take a really very, very brief break, and then I want to read through this. I want to read through this RFK article. Here it is: RFK campaign mulling, joining forces with Trump, and then we've got the big announcement that there's going to be a big announcement, an announcement about an announcement. What do you think that does to change things going forward? Does it break up any of the wall-to-wall projection that we have had to suffer through the last 3 weeks? It's not, oh man, we're really under the gun here, they're winning. No, it's just the molesters are putting their hands on your mouth and just trying to make you take it. I know. It's a very very vivid, uncomfortable bit of imagery there, but I don't look at this as a campaign of two sides with slightly different takes on the world that are just trying to make the best man, best woman win. It's far more dingy to me, and I just wonder, like I asked Rich Barris a couple of weeks ago, when was the bloom going to come off the rose? How much momentum are they going to have in this honeymoon period? How long until we start seeing the little man behind the green curtain again, pulling all the levers and turning all the wheels? All right, we will be right back. Don't go anywhere because it's a very short break.
Dad, I think I am racist.
Nothing wrong with that, Simba.
But Scar said that we are all born equal.
Oh, your uncle identifies as they slash them.
Slash who?
What I'm saying is that your uncle is gay, Simba.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Frankly.
Quite 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 frankly. Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly, guys. Quite frankly. Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
Dare you.
No, I'm driving. I don't care. I guess I'll call off from work because you got to go somewhere. It's getting to that point right now where I just, everything is just so nuts and there's so much uncertainty. You just want to keep everything close. Is anybody else going through that? Just like I want everybody hunkered down until things just feel different. Over on quitefrankly.tv, the gold pills, and let me put the call-in screen up there, open line. Paulie says, Yankees have the pitchers, don't they? Pitcher? Well, all right. I mean, their starters have been doing a little bit better than that horrible streak that they were on. It's crazy. The Yankees are in first place, are always like just about to get into. They're up there, and they're flirting with best record in the major leagues, and I just feel like they suck. It's such a weird thing to have both of those things in my head at the same time. Yes, they have a great record, but they also suck. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them in a short series or a long series. I really don't, and especially with that loser that they have for a closer, Clay Holmes. What a loser! I'm sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to close games either. But then again, I'm not a professional baseball player, and all I know is whenever he goes out there, if he has less than a 4-run lead, it's going. So, am I allowed to make an observation? Thank you, Doug Simmy. Thank you, Not My Name. Cave Toad says, another fun show, Frank. Did you see my post in Gilded about the 8th grade test? No, I did not. But if it's the 8th grade test from like the late 19th century, we've done those before on the show. They're almost impossible. We have gone so far downhill. Tomcat, NJ, thank you. C. Blanche, thank you. Sean Joe, thank you. J. Sem and Braves Piano. It's great to have you on here. 949, you're on the air. Go ahead with your comment.
Is this Frank?
Yes, it is. Who's this?
This is Bryce from Orange County.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome on the show from Orange County.
It's so cool to hear. I listened to you for a while. My dad put me on to you. Shout out to my dad, Mike in Marietta.
There you go, Mike. What's going on, Mike?
I've been listening to you for a while, and I just got to say, I can remember back when Nancy Pelosi was ripping up Trump's speech at the State of the Union, and to think of how it just got crazier from there.
I know.
I tried to warn everybody I knew.
Dude, all the things along the way, all the mini outrages all along the way, the things that we joked about, the things that we gasped at. It's just, it's crazy how it can make you nostalgic. It can make you nostalgic for the weirdest things. Like who knows? Here we're 2024, and I'm almost nostalgic for 2020 in some ways, because I felt like because when you go back at least a couple of years, you feel like there's a chance that you can do something. But that in itself is a false thought.
You had a great show last night. I watched it with my mom, and I completely related to you when you were talking about getting the dummy and having to slap the dummy in the garage. It's I don't know. It's very frustrating. People,
the ones, the ones I'm talking about. I think it's the Bob XL dolls. It's like a torso. Instead of just getting a kick pad, it's a rubber torso, and it's got the head on top of it. Oh man, we got one of those in the other room. We have a costume on it right now, but man, that would be just so great to just open palm slap across the face a couple times a day.
Totally. Well, thanks so much for answering my call. I'm stoked. I finally get to talk to you after listening to you for so many years.
Well, I hope it's not the last time.
I think you do a great job breaking everything down and keeping me informed.
Well, thanks for sticking around, man, because that means you got a good sense of humor at least, and that's what you need. That's what we're all going to need to be able to get through this. And as I like to say, and I mean it every time, make sure it's not the last time. Just try to call in, and eventually you're going to get through.
All right, I'll share you far and wide.
Jake, thank you so much, man, and take care. Send my best to the whole family. Sounds like the whole family watches, and that is why I have to stop cursing as much. I feel like I mean, how many times have I embarrassed myself in your living room and I didn't even know it? I'm so sorry that the grandparents out there, even though we have some really cool grannies and grandpas, really, really cool ones. All right, take a look at this before we get to more of your calls. This was the news that broke a couple of days ago. And yeah, RFK Jr. campaign mulling joining forces with Trump because we run the risk of enabling a Harris-Walz presidency. Just days after refuting reports that RFK Jr. approached Harris for a cabinet position, his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, just dropped a bombshell during a podcast that could change the race considerably. Appearing on the Impact Theory podcast that was filmed a couple days ago, Shanahan said that they are debating whether to stay in the race or drop out and join forces with Trump. Take a listen to this.
What my gut tells me right now is that we just have to keep being honest. I got to just keep being honest. I got to keep focusing on what matters the most outside of party lines. I need to focus on a vision that goes beyond November. And if that means that we stay in, and, there's benefits to staying in. If we get over 5% of the vote, we actually establish ourselves as a party. 71% of Americans want a strong third party. with a real shot at winning. There's even public funds available if we get over 5% of the vote. So we could get, I think it's like $13.5 million in public funds to keep the party going.
Now, here's the thing. Technically, I should say, well, technically, it is what it is. But when you really look at what's going on here, especially with the presence of Donald Trump in the limited form that he's around now, because time is running out, he's not going to live forever. If he wins again, then that's the end of his candidacy. Nobody in the GOP leadership ever wanted him. He's unwanted there. That party has hindered him. I know, I understand it's a fast track to ballot access. It's a fast track to getting some help with fundraising, any resources, whatever. But at the same time, you take all of that if you're somebody in Donald Trump's position, and you know that you're also getting people who are literally trying to hamstring you, that are trying to cut you down and are trying to sabotage you. That's it. 2022, the GOP was misallocating funds to make sure that they did mediocre in the midterms so that they can blame it on Trump to make it harder for him to start up his campaign afterwards. So, I mean, that's just what they were doing. So when you think about it right now, for as long as Donald Trump is running, it's the closest thing to a third party we actually have. It's the closest thing to a viable third party that we have had, I should say. Because even though he's there running on the Republican ticket, has the party really wanted him? While they've had him, look at what they've served up. Look at how they've manipulated him and really ruined a lot of chances for him. I mean, there's been that. Other things is just, hey, I mean, he's also a grown adult. He's got to make choices. But, for as long as he is the candidate, it really is almost as if we have, for just this moment in time, a viable third party. So I hope some kind of a point like that has been made over there at the RFK side of things. And listen, this is me playing the game. This is me playing the game with you, having some fun with this. You know what my thoughts and what my prescriptions are for the country and my expectations of how much of what I know should happen is going to come out of any of the declared candidates out there. Okay? So I understand. And you know where my focus is away from the D.C. national circuit. I know that the only hope that we have is refocusing local. So with that being said, anything that could be done to avoid Harris, logic says you would want these people to link arms and say, hey, let's just get your 2 to 5% and lop it on top of ours, and let's just, I don't know, let's rock and roll, and who the hell knows? It's not going to be easy going, smooth sailing one way or another. But for all of the things that could be coming our way, this is actually probably the best possible way it can go. Because everything else is just idealism. It's idealism that will never be realized. Not now. Not without the chalkboard really being erased and being allowed to start from scratch. That's just what it is. So as far as third-party candidacy goes, I hope that Shanahan and RFK and people over there have had backroom talks about, for while Trump is around, this is actually a very temporary, viable third party. Don't let the GOP distinction fool you. They don't want him. They never did. And they probably had some hand, at least foreknowledge, that he might have been killed a couple of weeks ago. I would not be surprised. As I said before, at the RNC, there was probably a lot of Tessios standing around. A lot of Tessios over there wondering why the Don was still alive. He's still alive. Tessio, all of them. Sollozzo. That's it. Virgil Sollozzo. He's still alive. 5 shots and he's still alive.
And that's, that's worth something. That means that we can position for a real third party election in 2028 where we don't have to go around and spend tens of millions of dollars on ballot access, which means that we can spend all of that time and money campaigning. So, you know, there's two options that we're looking at. And one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and you know, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision.
Well, hey, in the very limited, I mean, it doesn't really go that deep. It doesn't really go that deep. At least they see this as the true horrible, I have to say it, lesser of two evils. That shouldn't be the decision making, but I think it's far less. It's the far lesser. No doubt about it. I mean, just think about what we've been talking about with the price controls and the kind of ideas, these bankrupted, morally defunct ideas that we've been talking about with Robin McCutcheon and, you know, Rich Barris, anybody else. I mean, it's not even a choice. And of course, that's the whole thing. How much can you bring on that makes it harder for them to do what you know they're going to do? What all of this projection with the polls are really all about. It's about giving you some sort of oh, well, that's it. They've been running the whole time. So when they deliver what has been preordained, you say, oh, well, you know, it's believable. They just want the predetermined outcome to be believable to as many people as possible. That's it. And now here we have this, August 21st, straight from Kennedy Shanahan, Phoenix, Arizona. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will address the nation live on Friday about the present historic moment and his path forward. I wonder what the hell it's going to be. If it's just I'm ending and we're endorsing Trump, that doesn't make any sense. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. It has to be, we're ending this. We have made an agreement with the Trump campaign, and here's how we're going to influence certain things. That the conversations we had in 2016 about, you know, vaccines and this and that, those are back on the table. I'm really wondering. There's got to be something more to this than just ending their campaign and endorsing Trump. There's got to be something more to this. And I wonder if there was something more to that portion of a phone call that was leaked a day or two after Trump's life was threatened at Butler. I wonder. Okay, so 914-200-0269. We'll take your calls when we come back. Just a really quick break. We'll see you on the other side.
Trump Tower, baby. Look at how fucking elegant it is. It's way nicer than the White House. Trump should be there. Should be with us. I'll keep him safe.
Welcome to Perpetual Health Minute, brought to you by Quite Frankly. Today, we tell a story. Dr. Dwight Lindell is a former heart surgeon with a highly distinguished career. But after years of operating on sick patients, he asked himself the question, how can I prevent people from ending up in heart surgery? Now, his research led him to things like obesity as a driver of heart disease. How interested were his colleagues or the medical field in general about his newfound prevention? Not very interested. So Dr. Lindell opened up a weight loss clinic with wild success, keeping people out of surgery. And how did his colleagues and the medical field in general repay Dr. Lindell? They took away his medical license. So this story tells you everything you need to know about Western medicine. If you have a new idea, and the new idea works, most likely you will find yourself on the outside looking in. If you like this video, please follow the new Perpetual Health Rumble channel. You can also find us at perpetualhealth.substack.com. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Back to the show.
Well, I didn't know you wanted to get involved with the discussion, Mr. Helper. But since you want to help, maybe you can help me, okay? You remember that thing we had about 30 years ago called that Korean conflict? Yeah, where we failed to achieve victory. How come we didn't cross the 38th parallel and push those rice eaters back to the Great Wall of China and take the Berkeley brick and nuke them back into the fucking Stone Age River? How come? Tell me why? Say it! Say it!
All right, I'll say it. Because Truman was too much of a pussy wimp to let MacArthur go in there and blow out those commie bastards.
Good answer. Good answer. I like the way you think. I'm gonna be watching you.
A good teacher. He really seems to care. About what, I have no idea.
No. Maybe it's a time where curses get reversed. Isn't there always a time when curses get reversed? I'd really like to hear what you guys think about this. How does it impact things going forward? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think how is it not positive to add even what could possibly be 1 or 2 percentage points to all this stuff? Let's see what King has to say. King, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing? I'm calling in because I'm following Nikki's orders. She said call in with your pants off, so that's exactly what I'm doing, talking to you. Pants are off, and broads, if you get up an OnlyFans for me, you get to see me with the pants off.
Did you start the OnlyFans yet?
No, because I haven't heard feedback. I'm not going to start it if there's no interest.
So you're just coming on to remind people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm stumping for my OnlyFans, campaigning.
Oh, you know what we can stump for real quick. I gotta say, everybody, there's always, if you love this show, if you really enjoy this show, any show that you really you have a history with and some consistency with, you gotta support them in this new media landscape. Become a sponsor. And one of the greatest reasons to become a sponsor now is that everybody who's a monthly sponsor of this show gets certain universal perks. There are other places that you can go, like Subscribestar and Patreon, where you get specialty tiers that you can enroll in, like, becoming a pen pal with me or something else. But one of the best universal perks that I think makes any amount that is pledged already overvalued, it just overvalues everything, is this damn newsletter. It is so amazing. The August one was fantastic. September's coming up, and King has a special section in the September one. Not going to say what it is. I do? I'm not going to say any of the details about it, but here's the title of King's section: Things You Didn't Know About King. And it's going to be really, really nice. And I promise you, it is not dirty. It's actually just very nice.
Not at all.
It's very
not
nice.
At all, people. Not at all. It's respectful.
Yes. So
there's bad in there, but not like you think.
Yeah. Just
facts.
Yeah. Just the bad facts.
Bad facts and mistakes that I have learned from.
So there you
How's
go.
that? Hey, Frankie.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I sat there and promoted my OnlyFans to whatever, but can I promote a channel real quick that actually exists?
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Hey, everybody out there, if you hate me or if you like me, my daughter has a YouTube channel that you can check out. It's Chrissy with a CHRISSY Spinale, SPINALE. Just started a YouTube channel, and you can see some good that I've produced in the world.
Wow. I'm looking at it right now.
And no, it ain't gonna be no OnlyFans, people.
No, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't go that. But so okay.
No, nor would my daughter. I'd go there, but thankfully my daughters would not.
Let's see here. I'm not. So is this just going to be a personal vlog? What is it? I'm looking at it right now, but I don't know what the.
She's still trying to figure it out. She posted some videos to just let people get to know her.
Well, there you have it.
You know what I mean? She's still trying to figure it out, Frankie.
There it is. So you want me to put it up on screen?
It's up to you. Absolutely. I mean, that's how you promote, right?
Well, there she is.
You're the boss. If you want to, you absolutely can.
There's Chrissy Spinelli. How many daughters do you have?
3.
3 daughters. Okay. And so this is something this is one of those things that people are shocked to hear about when they realize how many daughters you've raised, because
Yeah.
Well,
and it's funny too when they listen to her talk, they're going to be like,
"Oh,
that's this asshole's daughter."
Well, I still haven't met her, so this will be great. Maybe one day you both come down to the studio.
Absolutely, my friend.
All right, man. Well, listen, I hope she gets a couple of subscribers there, and I'll stay on the lookout for whatever she designs her channel to be. And thanks for calling in.
Thank you, sir.
All right, there you go. Well, look at that. A little bit of moving and shaking over there on the King 40 end of the spectrum. I thought that's funny. It's like, King, that was a couple of weeks ago. If nobody's inquired about an OnlyFans, I don't think they need a reminder. But I can't wait for that September edition. That's going to be, there's a whole other, there's so much stuff in there. There's a beer making article that's going to be put in there. That's actually been put in by a friend of ours out in the audience, a friend of ours from the Navy, Miguel. That'll be in there. I think that we have a September contribution from Wendy Mahoney at Uncover DC. A little bit more about America, what she learned about America in traveling all over the country. There's so much good stuff, and it'll get better and better as the months go on, especially as we pass through the holidays. So there you go. All right, let's see. What else do we have? 914-200-0269. Give us a buzz. We got a couple more Rumble rants here, so let's just get to those. All right, first one up is Haywood Jablomi says, for the Chicken Nugget Treat Fund and your next date. Oh, I love taking her on a date. I think today wasn't the first daddy date, taking her to other breakfast spots and all that, but this was the first time we sat down in a 2-person booth, just one seat ahead, aside from me, in front of each other. It was just so nice. 925 Wild G says $5 says Kennedy drops out. Well, it looks like that's going to happen. But the real question is, what is he going to do after his campaign is suspended? He has not been the type to retreat from public life at all in the time that we have, tracked him, especially over the last 4 years, where he's really become a lot more politically active. He's not going to retreat from public life. And we're talking about a very, very pivotal 2 months, which is going to lead to even more pivotal months. I mean, just think about Election Day to Inauguration Day. Think about Election Day to Inauguration Day 2020 into 2021. The protests, the courts, the media craziness, everything. Election Day was actually the least of it. Man, oh man. All right, what else do we have? Over on quitefrankly.tv. Thank you, Captain Flint. It's good to have you out with us and always. All right, so let me see here. Well, here's what I have for the rest of the evening. I have a little something for you, and that is a thread about a day that will live in infamy in this country, and today is the anniversary. This day in 1992, we're talking about Ruby Ridge. And that's how we're leaving this off tonight. A little bit of history that everybody should know. As I always said, if you ever want to red pill somebody, the first thing you need to do is break your trust in government. And these are one of those stories that will do it for you. Here it is. Let's start with a wonderful thread that has been put together by Chesty Puller, over there on Twitter. On this day in 1992, Randy Weaver and his family were attacked by federal law enforcement on their home in Ruby Ridge in Boundary County, Idaho. What began on that day would quickly become known as one of the most egregious examples of federal police tyranny in the nation's history. Randall Weaver, who preferred to be called Pete, as he hated his given name, was born in Villisca, Iowa, to poor farming parents. One of 4 children, his family was extremely religious, though they often struggled to find a denomination that fit their beliefs. In 1968, Weaver dropped out of high school and enlisted in the U.S. Army, becoming a combat engineer. While home on leave, he met his future wife, Victoria Vicky Jordison. In 1971, Weaver left the Army at the rank of sergeant. A month later, and he and Vicky were married. Randy quickly enrolled in community college with the goal of becoming an FBI agent, but the high cost of tuition prevented him from completing school. He found work at the local John Deere factory while his wife became a homemaker as they began having children. Over time, they began developing a deeper distrust of the government, and Vicky began having visions that the apocalypse was coming. The family decided that their only option was to move off-grid, and they spent time among the Amish, learning how to live without electricity. Then they emptied their life savings of $5,000 to buy the small mountain property in northern Idaho. In 1984, their troubles began. Randy had a falling out with his neighbor, Terry Kinnison, over a $3,000 land deal. Kinnison lost the ensuing lawsuit and was ordered to pay Weaver an additional $2,100 in court costs and damages. Kinnison took his vengeance in letters written to the FBI, Secret Service, and county sheriff, claiming that Weaver had threatened to kill Pope John Paul II, President Ronald Reagan, and Idaho Governor John Evans. Randy and Vicky Weaver were interviewed by the FBI, Secret Service, and the county sheriff. Police were told that Weaver was a member of the white supremacist Aryan Nation and that he had a large gun collection in his cabin. Weaver denied his allegations and no charges were filed. The Weavers filed an affidavit in 1985 claiming their enemies were plotting to provoke the FBI into killing them. A couple wrote a letter to President Reagan claiming a threatening letter may have been sent to him over a forged signature. No such letter ever materialized, but 7 years later, prosecutors would cite the 1985 note as evidence of the Weaver family conspiracy against the government. One of the Weavers' neighbors, Frank Kumnick, was a member of the Aryan Nation and invited Randy to attend a World Aryan Congress in 1986. Unknown to either man was that Kumnick was already a target of the ATF. While at this Congress, Weaver met a man posing as a gun dealer who actually was an undercover ATF agent. Randy invited this man to his home to discuss forming a resistance group against what they called the Zionist occupation government. Later that same year, the ATF would charge Weaver with selling that information, with selling that informant 2 sawed-off shotguns. The ATF offered to drop all charges as long as Randy was willing to become a confidential informant. Randy refused. The indictments came down shortly after, claiming that Randy was a bank robber with an extensive criminal history. These allegations were, of course, fabricated. However, Randy was still arrested and then released pending trial. Trial was set was for February 20th, 1991, and subsequently moved to February 21st due to the federal holiday. Weaver's parole officer sent him a letter erroneously stating that the new date was March 20th. A bench warrant was issued when Weaver failed to show in court for the February date. Randy was, despite being completely unaware of it, officially labeled a fugitive from justice. The U.S. Marshals Service agreed to put off execution of the warrant until after March 20th, but the U.S. Attorney's Office called a grand jury a week earlier. It's been said that a grand jury could indict a ham sandwich, and the adage proved true, particularly when the prosecution failed to reveal parole officer Richens' letter with the March 20th date. The episode fed into the worst preconceptions of both sides. Marshals developed a threat profile on Weaver's family and an operational plan called Operation Northern Exposure. Weaver, more distrustful than ever, was convinced that if he lost at trial, the government would seize his land and take his 4 children, leaving Vicky homeless. Federal surveillance of Ruby Ridge began. Marshals attempted to negotiate over the following months, but Weaver refused to come out. Several people used as go-betweens proved to be even more radical than the Weavers themselves. In a rare show of reason under the circumstances, Deputy Marshal Dave Hunt asked Weaver neighbor Bill Grider, "Why wouldn't I just go up there and talk to them?" Grider replied, "Let me put it to you this way. If I was sitting on my property and somebody with a gun comes to do me harm, then I'll probably shoot him. On April 18th, 1992, a helicopter carrying media figure Geraldo Rivera for the Now It Can Be Told television program was allegedly fired on from the Weaver residence. Surveillance cameras then being installed by the U.S. Marshals showed no such shots fired, and pilot Richard Weiss denied the story. Even so, a lie gets around the world before the truth can get its pants on. Hat tip Winston Churchill for the bit of wisdom. The shots fired narrative now became a media feeding frenzy. The federal government drew up rules of engagement. On August 21st, 1992, 6 deputy U.S. Marshals entered the property to provide ground-level reconnaissance and choose a spot to ambush and arrest Weaver. Deputy Marshal Art Roderick threw rocks at the cabin to see how the dogs would react. The cabin was at this time out of meat, and thinking the dog's reaction may have been provoked by a game animal, Randy, a friend named Kevin Harris, and Weaver's 14-year-old son Samuel came out with rifles to investigate. Vicky, Rachel, Sarah, and baby Elishaba remained in the cabin. When Stryker discovered the team's locations on the Marshals shot and killed... Oh, wait, hold on. This popped up a little bit on August 24th. Okay. All right, so where's the next one? Hold on a second. This thing is bouncing around. Threads are still kind of weird on Twitter sometimes. Let's see here. It really goes up that far? It seems like something's missing here. When Stryker discovered the team's locations on one of Marshall's shot and killed... there you go. On one of the Marshals, they shot and killed the dog. This caused a brief firefight. By the time the shooting stopped, Deputy U.S. Marshal William Deegan had been shot and killed by Harris. Tragically, 14-year-old Sammy was also dead, shot in the back by the Marshals while trying to help his dog. So the 14-year-old boy was killed, trying to help his dog that was killed by Marshals. This is how it all started going out of hand. The situation quickly spiraled. The National Guard was called in, as well as SWAT teams and helicopters. The Weavers moved Sammy's body into a small shed near the main house and then retreated into the house. The next day, August 22nd, Weaver and his 16-year-old daughter, Sarah, along with Harris, left the main house to enter the shed where Sammy's body was. FBI sniper Lon Haruchi fired from a position about 200 yards distant. The bullet tore into Weaver's back and out his armpit. 3 raced back into the cabin. Haruchi's second shot entered the door as Harris dove for the opening, injuring him in the chest before striking Vicky in the face as she held baby Elishaba in her arms. Vicky did not survive. 2 days later, FBI Deputy Assistant Director Danny Colson wrote the following memorandum, unaware that Vicky Weaver lay dead. Okay, this is an FBI memorandum. Quote, something to consider. Number 1, the charge against Weaver is bullshit. Number 2, no one saw Weaver do any shooting. Number 3, Vicky has no charges against her. Number 4, Weaver's defense. He ran down the hill to see what the dog was barking at. Some guys in camis shot his dog, started shooting at him, killed his son. Harris did the shooting of Deegan, and he, Weaver, is in a pretty strong legal position. End quote. That's an FBI memorandum. The siege of Ruby Ridge would drag on for 10 days. Kevin Harris was brought out on a stretcher on August 30th, along with Vicky's body. Randy Weaver emerged the following day. Subsequent trials acquitted Harris of all wrongdoing and Weaver of all but his failure to appear in court, for which he received 4 months and a $10,000 fine. The atrocity at Ruby Ridge would not be the end of the story, of course. 6 months later, many of the same agents would be involved in the siege of the Branch Davidian compound in Waco, Texas. On August 1995, the U.S. government avoided trial on civil lawsuit filed by the Weavers by awarding the 3 surviving daughters $1 million each and Randy Weaver $100,000 over the deaths of Sammy and Vicky Weaver. Randy would pass away May 11, 2022, after a long illness. The story of the Weaver family in Ruby Ridge reminds us all that just wanting to be left alone is often not an option. The federal government, in particular the FBI, ATF, and U.S. Marshals, use deception, outright lies, and terroristic tactics, all in an attempt to entrap a man who refused to becoming an informant against his neighbors. Now, it is also good to point out that the Attorney General during Ruby Ridge was none other than Bill Barr, which is why a lot of people wrote him off and cursed his name when he was nominated by Trump as AG. Another poor political pick that came back to bite him in the ass personally, especially since Barr was actually hitting the phone. Bill Barr, you remember, was on the phones like it was a Jerry Lewis telethon, killing any kind of inquiry into the 2020 election. If you don't remember that interview that we had with Tony Schaefer, go and check it out. Okay, Tony Schaefer, who got a personal stand-down order from Bill Barr after discovering that there was an interstate ballot smuggling operation going on up here in the Northeast. Now, I was very naive, probably because at the time I just wanted to, I was just holding out hope. As long as there was doorways and there was options, I held out hope for some kind of a personal redemption story arc for Barr. But, I don't know how many redemption stories that we're going to get. Hopefully there are a few left in the chamber because all it'll take is one. Sometimes all it'll take is one. You just need one big domino. But there you go. A sad day in history and one that people should never forget. With all that being said and done, thank you so much for the time tonight. Thank you again, Jeff Harman. If you have anything you want to contribute to the show as far as feedback and thoughts, I would love to hear from you. Quite frankly, podcast at gmail.com. Something the hell is going on over here with the phones tonight. Got a lot of people listening, and it just seems clogged up. One just came in and disappeared without even popping up on the screen. So something's going on. I don't know. Hold on. Now 5 calls just came in. Very weird. Let's take a call. 817, you're on the air. Go ahead. Real quick.
Hey, this is Gary Americano. I was just going to say it was Janet Reno who was AG during that.
I thought Reno was Waco.
I think Reno was during both. I could be wrong.
I know that Janet Reno was Waco, but I thought that Ruby Ridge was. Hold on. Ruby Ridge AG. I thought that there was 2 there. Who was Attorney General?
What year was Ruby Ridge?
Is 92, right? William Pelham Barr.
Yeah, you are correct. Never mind.
William Pelham Barr was the United States Attorney General during Ruby Ridge standoff in 92. Yeah, and then a couple of years later, it was Reno. So,
all right, fair enough. They can both go to hell.
No problem. No, hey, listen. I guess one doesn't make one better than the other. But thank you for calling in and double checking.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
All right, take care, Gary. Good to hear from him. Let's see here, 914. I wish that makes me sad because we probably could have had a lot more calls. But there's obviously something going on here. Here's another cluster. 541, you're on the air. Go ahead.
What up, Frankie?
Hey, who's
Brian.
this?
Doughboy.
Doughboy, what's going on, man? You're the last call of the night.
Yeah, no, I know we don't have much time, but I think a little bit of public discourse and ruffling feathers a little bit is a good time to get people's minds churning.
Uh-huh.
I have a question for, the presidential candidates over the last, 15, 20, 30 years are just garbage. With that being said, I know there's a lot of Trump supporters. You know me, Frank. I've always been like, I don't subscribe to the lesser of 2 evils type of thing, yada, yada, yada. I kind of wanted to get your take on, though, the way I looked at it, like Biden's a geriatric dumb fuck, right? Like he didn't do anything for the country. It was awful. My biggest thing as far as Trump goes, and I wanted to hear your opinion on this, I was cool with his policies. He did a lot of solid things. But throughout my lifetime, and you and I are fairly similar age, I'm 35, and I've never seen the country more divided. And to be honest, I feel like it's been accelerated by Trump. And now, again, I'm not talking about policies and things and so on and so forth, but, you know, I've never seen people that are friends of 35 years tell them to go F off and I'll never be your friend again because of your political views. Yeah, it always got testy between people, right? But I don't know, I just kind of wanted to get your take on that, you know, because it's a little rough, man. It's the most divided it's been, in my opinion, like ever.
Well, I mean, I can't even. I'm with you. Things have gotten very cold. It's gotten very cold. Good times are definitely a lot more than an arm's reach away at this point, as far as the way we were socially 10 years ago or so. But there's a lot of things that you can put at Trump's feet. The social aspects, I can't do it. That's the one thing that I can't blame him for the least. I mean, we can be constructively critical about so much of his policies and so much of his nominations and things along the way. And those are the things I lamented that we weren't able to do more, because we were trying to neutralize so much the ridiculous overtures made by the media.
100%. I agree with that. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's those overtures made by the media, by the schools, the universities, to create this kind of social cataclysm over a man who, if you go back even just to 2015, who was still appearing on The View with the women who say that he is literally a genocidal maniac now. So I can't blame him for this complete about face that an industry, an entertainment media industry that used to embrace him has decided to turn him into, I don't know, I don't know. The social aspect, I know what you're talking about, man. I can't blame him for that. And there's plenty of things I wish we can be a lot more critical about, but we just have never had the time, because we're always fending off one more scam that has been contrived out of nowhere after another. It's made things very, very difficult, because I thought that, I was hoping that, like I brought this up in 2016, 17 when you first found the show. I used to subscribe to this analogy of the wrecking ball and the scalpel. I said, Trump is a wrecking ball. I said, I see this guy as if the best thing he can do right now is be a monkey wrench in the gears and just bust shit up. And then we need the surgeons to come in to start rebuilding the arguments for Americanism, and rebuilding the arguments for decentralized government and less, and we never got around to, we never got anywhere close to starting to have those more meaningful conversations, because it's just been trying to put out one bonfire after another. And
it's super disheartening, man, because like I said, I really don't care what your political affiliation is, and it sucks that people tie their identity so much to it and take such a hard line to where it's like people can't even talk to each other.
It's exhausting.
Anymore,
it's exhausting.
But I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up, make people think you're your own fucking person. Don't tie yourself to a political identity. However, I'm sitting here watching you. We've been friends. I agree on a lot of points. So I'm not just some fucking la land liberal, but I've lived all over the world. So I've seen like the shit kickers and the fucking wackos in California, but it's disheartening. Hopefully we can get back to some type of discourse. So
that would be wonderful. I think that's where new media really is. That's why we have to invest in new media.
Frankie. Let's go.
Hey, dude, it's so many people at this point. I'm glad to just be a part of it, and that's the whole thing. I mean, you look at all of, and thanks for the call, Brian. It's good to have you on. I'm going to wrap up over here, but thank you for putting me on this last call, this last thought. It's good to be a part of it, but also look at how much time has been spent by corporate media covering who in the new media, whether it be, some Gen Z YouTuber, a gamer, this and that. And we're talking about people who actually really have the eyes on them now. All right? It's not the Dan Rathers anymore. It's not Nightline. It's not that. It's us. And it's several generations of new media. There are people doing tons of different things. I don't game like some of these kids do. I do what I do. I'm doing what I love. And I'm going to continue up with this because I believe that a lot of these Gen Z kids who are in their, mid 20s, they're getting older and older. Everybody's tastes change. Things change. Perspective change. You start looking for deeper meaning to certain things in your late 20s and 30s that you never thought about in your late teens, early 20s, and all that shit. I want to be here, steady on my horse, waiting for a whole new generation of people who are they're going to be ready for it one day. I'm not going to start doing some kind of a hello there, fellow kids kind of act to try to bring young kids in. Sooner or later, they're not going to want to be the kids anymore. Right now, they're, so that's one thing. You got multiple generations there, but they're also starting to link up. They're also starting to link up with, with people like Donald Trump, even people like, even though he's older, but Theo Von. You start looking at these younger kids that are having meaningful conversations with politicians, and the corporate media is on the outside looking in with their paltry viewership, and they are forced to cover kids that didn't go to school to learn how to be manipulative CIA plants. They're forced to cover independent media that is getting bigger and bigger interviews. That's really just what you want to talk about discourse again. It's just going to have to be, we have to maintain our integrity on this. And that doesn't mean that we have to be saints. I get things wrong. I say things that sometimes I mull over for the rest of the night and I say, no, there's holes in that. And I want to revise these thoughts. And I don't leave here totally satisfied with every conclusion I end up drawing. And it forces me to think. I force myself to think constantly. And that's all we got to do. As far as everything else goes, it's totally exhausting. Totally exhausting. But out of everything that you could constructively offer up some constructive criticism on with Donald Trump, I can't put the cultural divide on him. I can't. Because of his nature, because of his personality, it was easy to turn him into a pariah. It was easy to transform him before people's eyes. It's sad that people just didn't have the wherewithal to actually say, oh, wait. This is Donald Trump we're talking about here. Okay? He's not, I may think that he's a, boisterous, ham-fisted clown or a whatever the hell else. There's a lot of people that just thought he was obnoxious because of his public persona and all that. Some people just don't like that kind of a thing. But whatever. But to elicit this kind of reaction from people, come on, is ridiculous. The fact that people lost all of their common sense and their critical thinking to be able to keep themselves in check and remind themselves that this is Donald Trump. Who was it? It was Right Said Fred. He said this guy went how many years? Went 70 years of his life, 69 years of his life, and then decided to become a criminal. This is lost on people. I can't blame that on Trump. That is just what happens when you step outside of a bounds and you walk up against the electric fences and you are even moderately an inconvenience. Because obviously he's not a total rebel, but even a moderate inconvenience, and they want to fucking take your head off. He's a moderate. Insane times, he'd be a center left, a little bit more of what do they call it? A blue dog Democrat? I whatever. But I get what Brian's saying. I understand that exhaustion. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night. It's Thursday night. Who do we got on with us tomorrow night? Forgetting it. Hold on a second. I'm forgetting my own schedule. Tomorrow night's the deer scene. Hopefully it's a slow news day because I would hate to have to push that off. But tomorrow night is the deer scene. Get to quitefrankly.tv. Go into the forum. Right at the top, Deer Scene 2024. You can even read the link from 2023. And I would love to have you guys calling in and writing in. Well, let's just talk about life-changing story. This is the discourse that we need. Okay? Because I already know what I'm going to open it up with. And it was an observation from somebody in this audience about what the right tunes out on way too much if it's not constantly about politics. I don't want people to tune out on that anymore. I should call in and let's just let's have a conversation. Let's talk about the best parts of everything. All right, good night, everybody. Good night. Farewell. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. No, I didn't. Sean Joe Vesper says, "What would become of us without you, Frank? Love you. Love your shirt. Oh, you guys would be fine. It just wouldn't be as entertaining." I understand what shows like this mean to people because I've had those shows. I don't have a lot of room for those shows anymore because I just have to do so much of this. So this show means that for me. What would I do at 7 o'clock? I'd be lost. Totally lost. So I understand what it can mean for you guys. It's a consistency there, and that's why I always say become a sponsor of it too, because it makes it a lot easier for me to bring more people on and to do things that are required to bring this to new levels. And it's got to get to new levels. I want it to be huge. It's got to be more people listening, calling. That's the beauty of mass media. We can do it ourselves now without hundreds of stations having to be syndicating us across the country. We can do it now from one room, from one machine. There are tens and tens of thousands of you who are getting this show on a regular basis all over the world, consuming it at whatever time is convenient to you. It's incredible. So become a sponsor of it, please. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Just a little bit of a reminder, a word to the wise, if you will. Do not worry about the worries from yesterday. Leave it in the past. Move forward with confidence because there are so many new things to be experienced today. New joy to be had. So move forward, be strong, and have a great rest of your day.
Will you shut up?